In this video, I'm going to show you the basic flow of HardOPS. How do we work with HardOPS? How does it look to work with HardOPS? The very basics, okay? There's a lot to HardOPS and there's a lot of material for you to go through, but I thought about it and I decided that the best way to present it to you is going to be go through the menus and tools in different states of the mesh or states of Blender. So for example, if I have nothing in a scene, my Q menu is going to be different than, for instance, when I have a mesh selected in edit mode or when I have cutter selected, right? These menus are going to change. So we approach them from a specific state of the mesh or, whether something is selected or not. And I think it's going to be very helpful for you to understand why the menu changes and what's happening with the tools and how to use them, okay? So now the very basic understanding of HardOPS, lesson number one is that you probably will not be using HardOPS without box cutter. Like I said before, these add-ons are completely intertwined. It's like, inseparable twins, okay? So for instance, if I'm gonna run a cube, the first thing I normally would do would be to add a bevel. So I'm gonna go to Q menu, click on the bevel, and a few things gonna happen. I'm gonna have a bevel being added to my mesh as a modifier, and also HardOPS is going to add smooth by angle modifier by default. And you're gonna have this massive menu. Don't panic, we're gonna be talking about this menu later on in one of the next videos. Then you just simply move your mouse left and right, scroll your mouse up and down. You got all these, options and bar with all the stats in the bottom, number of segments, width of the bevel, etc. And when you finish, you just simply go to Q menu and Alt click on Sharpen to add weighted normal modifier, which normally in Blender Vanilla would take quite a few steps because you would need to add the bevel, change the segments, change the width, then change the outer miter to arc from sharp because that will not work with booleans. There's a lot of stuff you need to do, okay? Add smooth by angle, add weighted normals, change them to keep sharp. There's a lot of steps. HardOPS is very, very quick. And then normally what I do is I just run a cut with a box cutter. So I enable box cutter with Alt W. I run a cut, right? And then I run a mirror with HardOPS, for example. So Alt X, then I click and I continue. Then, for example, I want to solidify something. I'm going to grab, one or two faces. I'm going to go to Q menu. I'm going to shift click on curve extract, run a panel on my mesh, and then maybe align myself here, run another cut, and that's how the workflow basically goes, okay? That's a normal workflow in HardOPS and box cutter. And you're going to be performing these operations over and over and over again. Now there is a massive practical, section of this course where we're going to be modeling an actual sci-fi model. So once you're going to go through all the videos that explain the tools and menus and how things work and how to wrap your head around all these things, then you're going to be able to jump into the practical part of the course and actually, have a go at them, okay? So it's going to solidify your knowledge. And listen, there are a lot of tools in HardOPS. You can see how much content there is on both of these add-ons. I actually can tell you that you will not need many of these tools, for a regular workflow. You're gonna just need the basic ones. But since it's a course on, HardOPS and box cutter, I feel like I need to explain tools that may be useful to you because every person has a different workflow. So, these tools could be useful. And maybe you're gonna have a eureka moment or say, oh shit, that's pretty cool, right? I could use it here. Do you know what I mean? So, go through the videos and you're gonna probably learn a ton. These tools have a lot to offer. They're really well thought out and they're going to really speed up your workflow immensely. So in any case, in next section, we're gonna be diving deeper into HardOPS menus and tools. I'll see you there.